Oh, shit. Oh. Oh, it's a 454. Didn't these get a better trans? Yeah, it's a 3/4 ton. Oh. Hey, I'm calling about the 96 Suburban, or I guess it's a Yukon XL that you got for sale.
Correct. Yes, I still got it. It's still available.
Okay, yeah, so you're up in, like, North Druid Hills area?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm a little ways south of you, not too far south. I'm down in East Lake. Now, it looks pretty clean. Have you had this thing a while?
I had it for some time. I mean, not that long. I'm not like the original owner or anything like that on it.
Gotcha.
What time would you want to come out and take a look at it?
You know, I'm pretty flexible. I'm probably a 15 or 20 minute drive from you. So, you've got my number. You can text me. Just at some point today, because it's still kind of...
Let's make this simple.
Yeah.
And pretty straightforward. If you want to come out, bring cash with you. I'll bring title and the paperwork with it.
Now, it being Sunday, the bank is closed.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the best I could do is if I drive it and see it and I like it, I could probably Venmo you a deposit. That's probably the most I could do today. Right?
Okay, I tell you what. If you want, let's just continue until tomorrow.
Okay.
And it'll be simple. Just bring cash what you want shot and take it from there, you know.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. It was interesting. I'm sure it's I mean, the one thing that gives me... everything was fine with that. But the one thing that kind of annoys me a little bit is that he will not show this to me without me having cash. Which I guess I kind of don't blame him. But it's also like... that's kind of not how that works. Alright, so I did manage to go take a look at this thing this afternoon, and I'm gonna try and give you the condensed version. So I got the guy to agree to meet me. He would only meet me if I pulled $1,000 out of the ATM for deposit and had it in cash, okay? But sure enough, I went and saw this a couple hours ago. So basically there's like 5 or 6 main key selling points to this vehicle that give it value. Whether I'm buying it to use it, whether I'm buying it as like a fix and flip and sell, there's several things that really just are good about this, okay? 454 engine, 2500 chassis, 4L80E trans, 14 bolt rear end, super clean inside, super clean outside. Those are your big selling points. I will say, all of those having seen it, all of those selling points still stand. However, there were enough kind of mild to moderate issues that I did not throw my $1,000 down on deposit. And unfortunately, the timing here is not great for me because I fly out of town for work in the morning and I won't be back until basically next Monday. So like one business week I'll be gone. So even if I wanted to sleep on this and say, hey, wake up tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning and go grab it, which I think it was a pretty good deal still, I can't kind of. Honestly, I kind of blew my shot today. So for starters, they've got this parked at the IHOP because they know the guy that runs the IHOP and he's cool with it. They got it parked out there with a for sale sign. It hasn't been for sale long, but I actually showed up to the IHOP parking lot before the seller. First thing I noticed was a big puddle of trans fluid under the car, Suburban. So I think it's just pan bolts, which, hey, low-hanging fruit, which is awesome. Easy stuff to fix is always my forte. However, like, I have gotten burned on a trans fluid leak that I thought was a simple thing, and it wasn't in the past. So, I mean, you know, I think it was just the pan bolts. I actually got down under there with my wrench and tightened them, and I think it's probably going to be fine now. But anyways, that was the first thing I noticed. Second thing I noticed when I was down there with the tranny is this thing has two O2 sensors, well, 2 that I know of. It's got a left-hand bank and a right-hand bank O2 sensor on the exhaust manifolds. The passenger side, when the wires to it were cut, which that alone is weird enough. Second weirdness about that is that there was no check engine light. I forgot to check that the check engine light came on when you took the key to on without start. I'm remiss as a car inspector, but there was no check engine light when driving it, and the wires to one of the O2 sensors had just been straight up cut, yeah, with like scissors. It was weird. I asked the dude about it. He didn't know anything. So yeah, so guy shows up. We take the thing for a drive. A couple things out on the drive. The 454 power, beautiful. Interior, beautiful. The two issues: exhaust leak, front suspension. So exhaust leak. The thing sounds like it's got an exhaust leak. Now the guy showed up, cranked it up, cold start, started beautifully, ran beautifully. It does run really good. But when you get this thing out on the road, and it's not until you drop this thing in drive that you hear it, it's got a kind of a severe sounding exhaust leak. I think it's an exhaust leak. I don't think it's internal to the engine. Oil pressure is good. And if you drop this thing into neutral and rev it, zero noise. Zero. You put it in drive, go up a hill, it's like a heavy tick. So, I don't know. Like, hopefully just exhaust leak. But even if it is just an exhaust leak, now you're tearing off manifolds on a big block. Which is not exactly known for working space in the engine bay, not the forte of the old big block. So I was like, ugh. Honestly, that scares me about as much as anything. Before I took it out on the drive, I did notice that the radiator was low, like way low, like not 2 inches. Like there was only antifreeze like halfway up in the radiator. So I asked him about that. He was like, oh, that's just because it's been sitting a while. He kept mentioning it had been sitting a while. He kept saying that, and that'll kind of come back around. But I was like, okay, but he said it didn't leak. But so anyways, we drive it, exhaust leak, and also the front suspension. So it pulls hard to one side, which like, oh, it's an old truck from 96. Like, they do that. But after I got out, I noticed that one of this driver's side tire has heavy wear just on the outside. So, I mean, clearly it's got alignment problems up front. I also noticed that the upper control arm on the passenger side is new. Upper control arm on the driver's side is original. So, some stuff has kind of been going on with the front end. I'm probably at an alignment shop could slap it back together, but I don't know. Maybe this thing's been, whacked around a little bit up front. It needs some additional help. I don't know. It's just something I noticed. After we got back from test drive and it was all warmed up and everything, that was when I popped the hood and I noticed a pretty significant water leak from the intake manifold, which explains the low rad fluid. And I pointed it out to the guy and he was like, oh yeah, you're right. I never noticed that. So I think basically the tally for physical issues comes to trans leak, unplugged O2 sensor, front suspension issues, kind of serious exhaust leak, intake manifold leak. What's that, about 5 things? Yeah, and the AC, I tried to test the AC, but number 1, the blower only worked on high, probably just a resistor. That's a pretty easy fix. And number 2, once we did get the blower running, it was so full of leaves, and the guy warned me about it, but you just kind of got that fluttering, like that sound, and we both were like, let's just shut it off. So I never even tested if the compressor ran. I meant to and I forgot to. Oopsie. So yeah, so the HVAC needs some amount of minor-ish work. That's like the theme of this truck. Needs some amount of minor-ish work. So that's when we came to the paperwork review after the test drive and the initial inspections, because I requested that he bring the title. Whether or not I was going to buy it, I just wanted to inspect the title because there's a lot you can get from that. So I kind of had a hard time getting a read on like this guy, like how long had he had it, how much had he been driving it, like are we coming or going, you Jared from Subway kind of a thing. And so I figured, rather than interrogate this guy, I'll just wait till he busts out the title and I'll see what that says. So number 1 thing that I actually liked about the title, it's from 07. That means that that's a 14-year string of ownership, right? That's not a bad sign. However, it's a South Carolina title. Doesn't make sense because we're in Georgia and you're supposed to change it immediately after you move. And I think this guy has been here a while. South Carolina title, which was weird, and it was already signed, which was weird, and it was not in this guy's name, which was weird, and he said it was his dad's name, and it probably is, but they're just all kind of, and I don't think any of that's like critically bad. It's just all kind of like, okay, so that's just, not exactly what I was expecting. Also, there was a in the pictures here, he's got no license plate. However, when I drove it today, actually, when I got to the IHOP, it had a Banks County license plate on it, which we don't live in Banks County. Both myself and the seller live in DeKalb County. So, like, you got a South Carolina title and you got a Banks County plate, and we're here in DeKalb County, and I'm like, I didn't, interrogate. It doesn't matter, really. I didn't, really question him about it. It's just like, okay, whatever. So, the bottom line, I gave this truck a pretty thorough once over. The guy was pretty cool. I was not trying to neg him, if you will. I told him it's a great truck, it's a great value, and I really do believe that. But I kept noticing stuff just because I do. And he finally, he came down to 5, and then he came down to 45. He did not want me to leave without throwing that deposit down. He really wanted me to go ahead and throw down on this thing. He did. And I couldn't quite. With all that being said, minor issues, relatively fixable stuff, really nice rig, tons of selling points, a grand or two of work. Could you flip this thing straight onto a bring a trailer or a cars and bids and get 10 or 12 for it? Maybe. Am I crazy to pass this up for 45? I honestly kind of think I might be. With that being said, it was just I went into it not knowing if this was some kind of cherry cream puff daily or something that needed a little bit of stuff. Turns out it needs a little bit of stuff. That's fine. But I'm here deciding how much do I want to bite off to chew kind of a thing. And it's you got to throw down this $1,000 in this IHOP parking lot. And it's man, I'm trying to pack my bags because I got to fly out to Tampa for work in the morning. I'm not going to be back for a week. So it's it makes it harder really jump on a car deal when the timing's not super ideal, And so I think I'm letting this one slide. I think whoever gets it is probably getting a deal. Like I said, he came down to 45, and we're talking clean Suburban, in and out. It's got 150. Oh, the other thing about the title. Yeah, it was a South Carolina title from '07 with an odometer reading of 149, okay? This truck's got 153 on it. And from what I could tell on the test drive, that odometer was spinning. So this thing has only gone 4,000 miles in 14 years. There's pros and cons to that. So, you know what I mean? So that's when it started to make sense. Oh, that's why this guy kept saying, making references to the fact that this thing had been sitting. It's oh, yeah, no. This guy or his dad or whoever's had it for the past 14 years hasn't hardly driven it at all. So, yeah, I just think it's kind of suffering from neglect. These are such solid rigs with the chassis, drivetrain, just all of it. I mean, it just needs the cobwebs dusted off, maybe a grand or two, maybe not even, and some elbow grease. And this would be well more than a $4,500 truck. I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger today. If I was not heading out of town in the morning and I was going to be flopping around town tomorrow morning, there's honestly not, there's a non-zero chance I would hit up the Wells Fargo first thing and I would do the deal with this guy. I don't expect it'll still be for sale when I get back from Tampa in a week. And honestly, if it is, then that means it wasn't as good of a deal as I thought, and I probably won't want it at that point. Thrill the chase kind of a thing, you know what I mean? Anyways, so that's this one for today. Curious if anybody else thinks, what a basket case, you dodged a bullet. Probably not. I honestly don't believe that. Or if anybody is like, oh my God, where I come from in my country, they would go crazy. All the northern guys, they would go crazy for this one because it's got no rust. I'm telling you, it's clean under there. I did notice the passenger side rear brake drum, or it could be disc brakes, I don't know. The backing plate for the brakes had evidence of a leak. So I don't know if it was the axle tube. I don't know if it was the brake. I mean, could have been either. That's not the end of the world. Not big stuff, but one more thing. Pile it on the list. Yeah, I'm curious what people think. Is that a value or not? Right? I mean, you know the assets. You know the issues. With all that being said, is this a $4,500 rig, like, is it, or like maybe it's not that great of a value. Maybe it's still a good truck, but yeah, it's really only worth 45. You know what I mean? So yeah, curious what people think. And that's what I did with January 1st.